Things that drew us to Kontaktmission was their emphasis on building international teams. And we knew coming here that we weren't fluent in German. Our teammates knew that we weren't going to be that way. And they have really supported us throughout the process of language learning. Early on, it was really rough with limited vocabulary to understand what concepts people were referring to with different words. And we had to really kind of build our vocabulary. We had to build ourselves to where we could really understand what people were saying. And learning to speak in a different language really kind of goes behind the words you know. And it goes to a movement from the heart that you make out of courage. Whether you're ordering food or meeting with an office worker or having a conversation with a friend, really what you're doing is you're meeting heart to heart with somebody and trying to move them through your language, whether that's good, pristine German that's totally understood, or if it's the type of German that Elizabeth and I now speak that gets the point across, but isn't exactly grammatically perfect. And as we think about what we're really doing with language, developing conversations and connecting with people heart to heart, we hope that the second year really opens up lots of room for us to make those deeper connections as we get to know people here in our neck of the woods.
So when learning a new language, we kind of live in two different worlds. There's the world of being in language class where you go in and sometimes you're totally frustrated, you aren't doing anything right, or there's other days where you're totally feeling like a rock star and you're getting everything correct. But then you come out into the real world of shopping and all the other people, the actual Germans, no longer the immigrant people, who you're speaking with in class. And you realize you still don't really know that much, and it can be very discouraging. There's times where I go grocery shopping or something like that, and I think to myself, I don't want to say the phrase while I'm out. I don't want to say the phrase, I can only speak a little German. If I can come home and not have to speak that phrase, then I have a win. I've done a good job. So there was one time I went to the grocery store and I was doing such a good job, but then part of it was because of her wearing her mask, I think. I couldn't even understand that she wanted me to just clarify that I had 5 pretzels in my bag. And I had to say to her, I can only speak a little German, excuse me, what did you say? And then I thought, I hung my head as I drove home that day. So there's wins and there's also things that kind of make you feel discouraged, but you got to just keep trying.
So when we first moved to Germany, I knew a few phrases and I knew I had a little bit of vocabulary. And we would go to church every Sunday and I would be able to say kind of the same type of things over and over again. And after about 6 months of being here and after language class started, I was finally able to begin contributing in German. And one of the ways I was able to do that was I was able to read Bible verses and start to pray a little bit. And I remember the first time I stood in front of a church business meeting and I totally, no notes, whatever. I'd been in German class that day, so German was fresh on the tip of my brain. I stood up and in very basic vocabulary gave a little bit of an update about our family. And I remember the church, everyone in the room, a giant circle, sitting there and listening to every single word I said with bated breath, and just hanging on every single word, like at what point is he just going to switch back to English or this, that, the other. And I gave a whole, 2.5 minute update completely in German. And at the end, I remember everybody just starting to cheer and clap because I had made it through an entire speech without switching back to English.
So the first people that we had a lot of conversations with here in Germany were people from our church. They had a lot of anticipation about us coming and they were waiting to meet us and talk with us. So I had one Sunday where I had a woman who's older stop me and want to chat with me. Well, first of all, she had her mask on and that made it really difficult to understand. It was also my first time speaking with her and she had a very heavy Schwabish accent. I only heard her say something about my long hair. And I said, oh yeah, my hair is long? And she said, no, 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 nein, nein, nein. Die hair ist groß. So she was speaking of the hair as in our Lord, not Hara, as I heard, and that he is great. He's gross, not my long hair. So that was one time that language was really confusing for us here in Germany.
So learning a foreign language takes a lot of patience with yourself, and it takes a lot of growing in confidence. And early on when we first got here, we found it really difficult to have any confidence with actually speaking German. And as time went, we went from dipping our toes into the water to full on just wading in, really putting ourselves out there and allowing ourselves to make mistakes and get corrected. And I remember one time we were at church and we had a moment that was just open for prayer. And I felt moved to share a prayer and really just put myself out there. I prayed a very simple prayer. And after the service, we had a really well-intentioned lady come up to Elizabeth and point out all the things I said during my prayer that were just total failures. So when instances like these come along and you get a very direct correction, you have an option to make. Next time, am I going to clam up? And even though I feel led, am I not going to say anything, or am I going to still put myself out there and try again next time? And we've decided that what we have to do just over and over and over again is, though we're always getting corrected, and though we don't exactly think like a German and we don't think perfectly in the German language, we've got to constantly be putting ourselves out there and allowing our confidence to grow. That for instance, we just ate at a restaurant and I ordered food, and I wasn't at any point nervous. I wasn't speaking perfect German. It wasn't mistake free, but I knew that we were going to order the food we wanted and we were going to get what we wanted.
So I'm at the point now, after living here for almost a whole year, that I want to start getting into deeper conversations with people in German. I'm understanding a lot more, and that's great, but I'm still struggling to actually get to know the people better. What questions are the right questions to ask, and how to ask them, and how to appropriately tell them about me, diving into our testimonies, or what just anything about our lives, our past, conflicts and hardships that we've had through our lives. I'm ready to talk about that with so many people I know from my church, or my neighbors, or people from our language class, and I'm struggling to do that now. So I'm hoping that the second year of being here in Germany, that deeper conversation will begin to develop.